factual basis behind these charges that Ms. Johnson is pleading guilty to today stems from an incident that happened on July 4th into the wee hours of July 5th of 2013. Your Honor, let me introduce you to some of the members of the Macon Mafia Street Gang here. Before you is one that is indicted for co-defendants, Kiyo Johnson. Let me explain to you the mayhem that they committed on the early morning hours of July 5th, 2013. It was basically July 4th. They were all at their co-defendant Andre Bonner's house. They had been drinking. They planned to go to clubs that evening. They traveled together as the Mafia Street Gang in a pack because they all basically have each other's back and enforce each other when they go into nightclubs. They decided that they would meet up first at Scarlett Parsons nightclub. They all did. They went into Scarlett Parsons for a period of time. There would be testimony that there was a large group of gangster disciples in that club, and that there were some throwing up of the Mafia gang signs between these different club members during that club. They managed to get out of that club at closing time, or right at closing time, without there being any scuffle in that club. The Zodiac Club, where this incident happened, Your Honor, is downtown. It's basically 2 blocks away from this courthouse. The Zodiac Club is the bottom of the ballroom. I'm sure as the court is well aware. It's on the corner of Walnut. The ballroom has been a well-established floor there for a long period of time. And the Zodiac is basically in the basement of that building. The Zodiac is known as a after-club club. It does not get cranked up till at least sometime after 2 o'clock. When all the other bars close, they all begin to roll into the Zodiac. And they're all welcome there as the after-club club. One of the co-defendants, Mafia gang member, Artie Freeman, basically has his own reserved parking spot. He is known to have that right beside the door of the Zodiac. They all traveled together to the club. They met up going into the club together. There's a video of them coming into the club, Your Honor, as a group. One of the bouncers at the bottom of the steps is patting individuals down. As he's patting individuals down, he spills a firearm in the waistband of one of Ms. Johnson's co-defendants, Holly Shed. The bouncer tells him you have to take that outside, or motions for him to go outside with it. One of the other co-defendants, Mr. Freeman, is standing right beside him, and he tries to get the bouncer just to let him on in, saying he's with him, but the bouncer insists and makes him take the firearm back outside. The Mafia members come inside. They stick together while they're in the club. And while they're in the club, one of the victims in this case, Deion Davis, who is present this day, Your Honor, he's on the second row with a red shirt. He's in the club as well. And Mr. Davis has been in the club for a couple of hours at this point with several of his friends. Mr. Davis and his friends have all been in the club. They've been drinking, and it's July 4th. They've been having a good time. And they have not instigated or messed or incited anyone at that point in the club. However, unfortunately for Mr. Davis, he is quite intoxicated at that point in the evening, Your Honor, or into the early morning hours of July 5th. And unfortunately, like I said, for Mr. Davis, he stumbles in and wanders into this Mafia gang pack. And when he does that, he basically gets too close to Arthur Freeman, a co-defendant of Ms. Johnson. And as Mr. Freeman would have stated, got in his space, and what we know as gang terminology and gang culture, basically was disrespecting him. In his space, stepping on his feet, there were some words exchanged, and Mr. Freeman basically hauls off and punches Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis would testify that that's just about all he can remember at that point, because he was attacked at that point by the Mafia gang members that were present in the club, including Ms. Johnson. At that point, Your Honor, when Mr. Freeman is basically given the signal that he's going to assault Mr. Davis, they all jump in. It's not just a one-on-one, it's the whole rest of the Mafia Gang members have your back, and we're right there. It is on videotape. Ms. Johnson is seen on the videotape slinging a glass beer bottle at the victim. And this is while he is being pummeled by several of the other co-defendants, including Andre Bonner and several of the others. One of her other co-defendants, Jimmy Scott, has a pool stick in his hands, and he is hitting him and striking him very viciously and as strong as he can on numerous accounts with this pool stick. The assault on Deion Davis basically rolls around the pool table and around the back of a club until at this point security realizes that this has gotten way out of hand and there is a vicious assault, and they rush in. It takes at least 4 security members to break this up and get it calmed down or settled down. While security has been basically torn away from their positions of security at doors and monitoring the safety of the patrons of the club, Your Honor, having to respond to this gang fight, 2 of the other members of the Mafia Gang, Mr. Hollinshed and Mr. Barnwell, go outside and retrieve that firearm that they tried to get in originally. So since there's no security at the door because they've been pulled away from this fight, those members are allowed to go out and retrieve the firearm in the parking deck and bring it back into this well-established club that has at least probably 200 patrons at that point. On videotape, you can see that security stays with the Mafia crowd, Your Honor. They stand right there with them. They realize it's been a volatile situation. They do have it calmed down, or what they think is calmed down, for a few minutes. The video sees that Mr. Davis goes back over to this crowd, and you can see that he's put his arms up. Basically, it looks like, to say, what's going on, we're trying to make peace. Before he goes over to the club, Your Honor, captured on the video, you can see several of the Mafia Gang members talking to Mr. Hollinshed, and what we would say would present as evidence is that they are made aware again that he has the firearm on him. So when Mr. Davis comes back over to this group to try to make peace or put his hands up, say, what's going on, there's no problem here, Mr. Hollinshed is right behind the group of the Mafia, and he pulls the firearm that he has obtained out of the parking deck and opens fire on Deion Davis. And approximately 150 to 200 people in front of him, including his own Mafia Gang members. At that point, when shots ring out, Your Honor, it is a mad dash for the door. He is caught on video shooting at least 2 or 3 times in the door. As Mr. Davis is running for his life, Your Honor, he stumbles at the stairs leading up to the parking deck to escape. When he stumbles, you can see Mr. Hollinshed come right beside him and intentionally take the gun across his body and shoot at him again while Mr. Davis is lying helpless on the floor. As people are running out into this parking deck, which is underground, it's a lower level parking deck below the street, they're trying to run to their car, they're trying to escape. This brutal fight has happened that has led into gunfire being shot. Security at this point, Your Honor, is trying to get control of the situation. They're trying to keep the safety of their patrons that have remained inside the building. At one point, one of the security guards, Mr. Williams, has gotten a group of patrons together, and he's going to try to escort them to their cars regarding their safety. So he goes up to the top steps into the parking deck because he doesn't hear any more gunfire at that point. And when he does, and he goes into the parking deck, he sees a dark-colored SUV that is trying to stop right at the bottom ramp of the parking deck, and sees an individual that he has picked out of the photographic lineup and identified as Andre Bonner at the back of that car. He said that he saw that individual draw down point-blank range within 10 feet of Jamonni Bland, who was actually the deceased member in this case, because as he sees him shoot this individual within 10 feet, who's not armed, the security guard, Mr. Williams, has to make a split decision, and he draws his service weapon and fires at the individual shooting, which is, like I said, he's picked him out of the lineup as Andre Bonner, who was one of their main Mafia co-defendants. And his testimony will be that he knows that he struck him as he was shooting his weapon toward him due to his reaction and the location of his wound. And he saw him basically shoot and kill Jamonni Bland. And he said that he got into that vehicle and they fled the scene. And they fled the scene. Mr. Bonner was shot in the neck, what the state would be contended by Mr. Williams, the security guard. They dropped him off at the medical center to seek help for his wound. The other Mafia gang members fled the scene, did not stay and speak to the police. They gathered back up at one of their gang members' house, and one of their other individuals was shot, Jimmy Scott. They tried to obtain medical help from him without him going into the medical center, so his identity would not be known to police. And they made arrangements and plans to get all of their members out of the Macon area. One fled to Columbus, and you'll hear testimony from Cedric Penson, the gang detective, that some of them flee to West Virginia. There's a known Macon Mafia connection in West Virginia. Cedric Penson, if you could explain to this court, since you've been working inside to the gang unit, your involvement and knowledge of the Macon Mafia gang, criminal street gang, and in particular, the named co-defendants here and their involvement in it, and then we'll follow these other things. So if you could tell them how you know these individuals, how long you have known them to be in the gang, and we will introduce the other guys as well.
Prior to working in the gang unit, I did some time on narcotics, and one of the locations that we targeted the most was Gordon Street and White House Street. That's when I became familiar with the Mafia Street gang. It was during that time that I was able to identify key personnel in that gang, names of Jimmy Scott, Jarrell Scott, Kiyo Johnson, Alfonso Clyde, and the others. From that time in history, I've been investigating the Mafia organization. Those key names are always coming up in certain investigations. And one murder that happened, I believe, in 2010, the Mafia street gang came up as persons of interest in that street gang, where a young man had left the club and was gunned down at Walsh Parkway off of Eisenhower Parkway. During that investigation, the name of Jimmy Scott, Orlando Phillips came up in that investigation. On another investigation that I investigated, the incident that occurred where 3 Mafia members tried to rob a truck stop off of Montpelier Avenue. Those co-defendants, Jarvis Child and Tavia Clark, and Rashard Williams, who I've known to be associates of the Mafia Street Gang.
I'll stop you right there for just a second, Sergeant Penson. The 3 you just stated, Rashard Williams, Jarvis Child, and Tavia Clark, they have all pled guilty to the armed robbery and aggravated assault on police officers from a 2013 incident and being a member of the Macon Mafia. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they've all been sentenced to prison. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you also aware that Martin Kendall and Alfonso Clyde at some point in the Macon Mafia held positions of leadership?
Yes.
Okay. Are they both convicted felons?
Yes.
And have they both had drug convictions as well?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibits 1 through 9. I've showed them to counsel. Is there any objection from counsel?
No. Not on behalf of Ms. Jones.
State's Exhibit number 1. Could you explain to the court what that photograph is, please?
This is a picture of Jimmy Scott and Kiyo Johnson and other Mafia members going up gang sign, probably at some nightclub.
And what gang sign are you familiar that the Macon Mafia leaders use?
Deion.
All right. We show us the marked State's Exhibit number 2. Who is that photograph?
This is Jimmy Scott and Andre Bonner.
Are they both known, documented Mafia gang members according to your investigation and leadership in the gang unit?
Yes.
Prior to law enforcement?
Yes.
And are they, in State Exhibit number 2, are they also displaying mafia hand signs?
Yes.
Let me show you again what's marked State Exhibit number 3. You can briefly explain that as well.
This is another picture of Jimmy Scott and Orlando Phillips, one of the same signs.
State Exhibit number 4, could you point out who co-defendant was in relation to this indictment is in that photograph?
Mr. Arthur Freeman and Kawansi King is in this photograph.
And they're named co-defendants of Kiyo Johnson and Jimmy Scott, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And are they displaying mafia gang symbols in that photograph?
Yes, they are.
And if you could state exhibit number 5, what is that a photograph of?
This is a photograph of a jacket that one of the mafia members was wearing. Fonzo Clyde's sister, Margot Clyde, was gunned down by some fellow credit members. And to pay homage, the court and stuff, you say rest in peace. Well, they put to him where the R in his mob piece. And this is just one of the ways that they show homage to their father. So, and Margot was the picture.
Okay. Let me draw your attention to the upper left-hand corner. There's an M symbol with a name made or the word made up under that. What do you recognize that is as in reference to mafia?
It's a way of disguising the mafia as an organization.
Is made a mafia name term that goes way back to the true mafia gang members?
Yes, in American history of mafia, the term made means someone that has been, who's put in work, who's a made man, who has that status, who's in the upper echelon of the organized crime.
And let me show you some more statements at number 6. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that, please?
To combat the gang problem that Bibb County citizens face, yearly I conduct an action plan to target criminal street gang activity. This is a 931 action plan that I conducted in 2012, and it's usually generally around the time of the year that they celebrate their organization.
And state exhibit number 7, briefly, what does that represent as well?
This is their belief. Basically, this is a sign that I pulled off one of their Facebooks, and this basically has the mafia writing, but you can see the old school mafia, like they were consistently the one they tried to adapt, but you can see what they are paying homage to, which is the guns and money.
Okay. And state exhibit number 8, did you receive that, or did you print that off of one of their other gang members' Facebook pages?
Yes.
And what does that represent, please?
This is like a slogan, that propaganda that they try to put out there on Facebook. They use social media to get their thoughts and ideas across. This is something I located on Pig's Taylor, not Pig. Sorry, his name's not Pig Taylor, Mr. Taylor's Facebook page. And it basically has all the co-defendants that's associated with the Zodiac case, as well as Rashad Weedon that was associated with that armed robbery. And it's basically just saying freedom on.
And that includes Jimmy Scott, Arthur Freeman, Jonathan Barnwell, and Andre Bonner?
Correct.
And finally, I'm going to show you some more state exhibit number 9. Could you explain that photograph and the different gang symbols that you see in there?
Yeah, so what you see here is, of course, gang members that we identified being in the West Side Mafia. You also, I recognize Arthur Freeman. I also recognize the Renzo Trip. But the key fact here is the hat that this young man is wearing, and it has made on it. And that's one of the things that we look at when we identify the mafia member.
And Sergeant Penson, as your position as one of the lead gang detectives, are you familiar with the Mafia Street Gang's connection to a section of West Virginia?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, could you briefly explain to the court the connection and how it involves these co-defendants?
Typically, Your Honor, anytime we investigate the mafia for any violent crime where jail time may be coming, it's often known that they run to West Virginia to hide out to or escape being involved with us. 2 of the co-defendants were caught in West Virginia with firearms and a large amount of narcotics and around the same time this incident occurred.
And does the connection to West Virginia date back to the days of the Duggars' involvement in the Macon Mafia?
Yes.
And are you familiar where Jimmy Scott was taken into custody on these charges?
Yes.
And where was that?
He was at the residence of Orion Gardner, a old school mafia member that we investigated in the past.
He used to live in Macon, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and where was his house, or where was he living at the time of the arrest of Jimmy Scott?
I believe Austell, Georgia.
Let me show you what I'll mark as state exhibit 10 and 11. What is state exhibit number 10?
This is a hat that Mr. Jimmy Scott was wearing when the U.S. Marshals arrested him. You see, as some of the other color things or other gang members have. And this is basically a way of them disguising their sign, their logo without, actually printing M, they adopt baseball hats. But what's interesting is that on the side of it, he's identifying himself as me.
Right, and then what I will show you is state exhibit number 11. Can you briefly show that and describe the gang affiliation to the court?
This is also a shirt that Mr. Scott was wearing at the time he was arrested. So the ordinary person, it just looks like a jersey with the number 31 on it. So based on my investigation in the gang world of Macon Mafia, the moniker that they use is 931. And if you coordinate those numbers, the alphabet, it's called Insane Crip Assassin. One of the major rival groups of the Mafia is Crips. So what they do is they wear the number 31 just to let everybody know that they are Crip Assassins. The 3 stands for the C and 1 stands for A. And on the back of it, you see one of their fallen soldiers, another way of spreading propaganda and paying homage to one of their fallen soldiers that was killed at a nightclub, believed by another Crip member. But a lot of them, wear his name as a respect.
How long have you been a part of this outfit?
Well, I grew up in the area, so I did the time and number, so I was in the area.
Said you had, Wheeler said you had 2 children, is that right?
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
3 and 12.
I want you to take a guess, a wild guess. How many other people's children is group that you're proudly responsible for? You don't know. How many are responsible for you? Name it. Rob, County, I didn't.
So I participated in housing.
Mr. Wheeler said, you are known by the company that you understand that. Active is one of your parts. And that program is pro-war. You are I don't participate. Each group, not detention people that are really just a cancer on this community. These guys show up to the name. Then the other people wind up with a long time to come. The whole generation, people from your neighborhood, calling somebody else a time. That's part of his material indicator. Okay. That's part of it.
I made a bad choice. If I was making no choices, I had to go to prison. I ain't had no intent of nobody get shot or hurt or nobody get killed. I just want to accept my responsibility on the part I did play, but I don't want you to punish me on the part that I didn't do with. I understand that choosing to live that type of life, things like that come with it. So I'm just accept my Said my part, what I had to do with it, and hopefully I get my life back on track and able to live raised my kids when I come back, sir.
Yeah, the job, man, it went on.
Yes, sir. I ain't had no knowledge that no shoes didn't take place.
Well, if this wasn't traffic, that would be funny. Not exactly what we're doing, but it's, yeah,
You know, sir.
my first time you stood with that. Going the same thing.
No, sir.
Anyway, right now, we'll go back. We're aggravated with all of
Yes, sir.
and you're in more than one of them.
Yes, sir.
You just refer that over to Mark.
No, sir. I don't say, but I should have made a mind up a long time ago.
This is the first time you stood with that, under this game that you did it.
No, sir.